Wanna talk? So let's talk. Yeah. Talk. You wanna talk? You gotta talk, you need to talk. News talk.
I talk, you talk to Solomon. I talk, you talk to Solomon. Yeah, let's talk to Solomon. Talk to Solomon.
You gotta talk, you wanna talk.
Welcome back to the Talk to Solomon Show. I'm your in-studio host, retired Chief of Police Steve Davis. With us tonight on the phone we have Stan Solomon, who's the star of this program, who's away on urgent business this evening, and also Brent Johnson, who's also one of our co-hosts tonight, and also a voice of, not often reason, but a voice we love to hear. And during this segment we have a special guest on phone, Mr. Andy Mangione, is that right? Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, you did, Mangione.
Okay, Andy is with us tonight. He's also with AMAC. So first of all, Andy, why don't you tell us a little bit about AMAC?
AMAC is an acronym for the Association of Mature American Citizens. We are the leading conservative alternative to the AARP. We just surpassed our 500,000th member last Friday and are growing rapidly. So think of us as an alternative to the AARP. We're a member benefit service organization for Americans who are age 50 plus, and we advocate on their behalf in Washington as well.
All right, well, the nation has been besieged with information regarding Bengazi. We had
Yes, sir.
one of our ambassadors was murdered there along with 3 other Americans who tried to save his life, and there was a lot of disruption and violence there. And then we've had several different stories from our own administration as what did and didn't happen and what was and was not known. And so it's my understanding that you have conducted a poll about Bengazi with AMAC, and if that's so, which I believe it is, why don't you tell us about that poll?
I'd be happy to. The thing that differentiates, one of the things that differentiates AMAC from other senior advocacy groups is the fact that we talk to our members, and they tell us on which issues to advocate, and we do that. So we conduct weekly polls on our website, and we've been doing this for a long time, at least over the past 5 years. And what's interesting, we put a question out. In the question, I'm paraphrasing, should there be a special prosecutor that should be appointed to investigate what happened in Bengazi? And it was the largest participated poll that we've ever had, over 6,400 people. These are AMAC members participated in the poll, and it was a statistical 100% said yes. We've never seen that before. And let me put this in perspective. 44% of the people that voted in this past election are age 50 plus. It's the largest voting block, age group-wise, than any other age group, okay? So you had 44% of the people in the electorate participating in the election that were 50 plus. And then you look at our website and our poll, 100% of the people participating in that poll out of a sample size of over 6,400 are demanding that a special prosecutor be appointed so we can get to the bottom of what happened in Bengazi. We've never seen anything like it. So I would say that from a snapshot perspective, Americans age 50 plus want to know what's going on, what happened in Libya, and they would greatly prefer, overwhelmingly prefer, that a special prosecutor be appointed so we can find out what happened.
Well, what is a special prosecutor, and how does that work?
Well, a special prosecutor is appointed by a Congress. They're independent, and we've had special prosecutors before. I mean, we've had Ken Starr, if you remember Ken Starr back in the late 1990s, late 20th century into the 21st century. We've had special prosecutors investigating. You remember the Clintons. President Bill Clinton was investigated via a special prosecutor for the Whitewater investment affair. So it's not unusual to have an unbiased third party come in and look into a matter, and the matter could be it could be presidential, it could be it's a policy, and in this case, it's not unusual for a special prosecutor to come in, and there's been so much information that's been coming out of the administration that has been contradictory, that in this particular case, it screams for a special prosecutor, an independent third party, to come in and start talking to people, start going through documents, start going through emails, start talking to the people on the ground there to find out specifically what happened, and then report back to Congress with their findings.
All right, we have two plus 50 voters here with us tonight, which includes me and our co-host on phone, Stan Solomon. Stan, what are your thoughts about, first of all, this substantial poll results from AMAC, and also your thoughts on appointing a special prosecutor to investigate the Bengazi incident?
Well, I have comments on both. Let me start with congratulations and job well done to AMAC for breaking through that 500,000 mark. There's something called critical mass in order to become both impactful and effective, and frankly, to generate fear. I think at 500,000 you have done that. My hope is that you can announce on this program in the next 6 months that you've broken through 1 million. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Brent, what are your thoughts? Brent, are you with us?
Yeah. I think it's noteworthy, and I applaud AMAC for taking the poll. I think it's noteworthy that so many people have participated and voiced their opinion that they'd like to see a special prosecutor. However, I don't really believe that these polls will do any good anymore. I think that the thugs in government have basically decided they're going to do whatever they want to do. If they want to do for political reasons, a independent prosecutor, they will, and if they don't, they won't. And in general, I think it doesn't matter what party you're part of. Republican, Democrat, makes no difference, because neither party will seriously go after the other, because there, but for the grace of God, go I. If the Republicans go after the Democrats, like if they go after the Obama's ineligibility, then the Democrats will go after the Republicans when it comes their turn. And so there's this silent agreement that will never go after any of the injustices that your criminals commit if you don't go after the injustices our criminals commit. Now, concerning a special prosecutor, theoretically, a special prosecutor is supposed to be non-political. It's supposed to be an independent prosecutor, independent of any political party. But inevitably, the prosecutor is appointed by a political official, generally a president. And not always, sometimes it's Congress, but whoever appoints the special prosecutor is going to appoint somebody that he thinks will give the result that he wants. Thus, it becomes political. And as long as politics enters into the appointments of special prosecutors, they will do no good. Back in the days of Watergate, the special prosecutor, it was one of the earlier times that a special prosecutor was appointed. They hadn't yet gotten down the politics of it. So perhaps that prosecutor was a little bit more effective. But in recent years, I don't think any special prosecutor has done a whole lot to really combat the injustice and the corruption in government. And I don't expect it will happen in this case, notwithstanding the call for action that so many people have put forward.
Well, I believe that you're right, that we'll never get rid of politics totally in anything that we do, but perhaps the special prosecutor may get to some of the truth in the matter, and some of the truth may unravel some more of the truth, so let's hope that happens. Let me talk about a story here for a moment that I think goes along with this. Benghazi has really emboldened the Islamic faction in the Middle East, and now we see there's Israelis being bombarded by rockets. They're being attacked mercilessly with exploding rockets. And just imagine that. This is not just a video game. There's rockets really exploding in Israel and damaging and killing buildings and killing people. But this CNN took a poll, and it said that most of the Democrats in the United States do not support Israel in the Gaza affair. So I'll start with you, Andy. What do you think about that story, that most of the Democrats do not side with Israel, even though they're being bombarded by rockets?
Well, I am not surprised that the poll turned out the way that it did. It's shameful. And it's disgusting, honestly. We have the only democracy in the Middle East that right now, more than ever, needs the United States to have its back. And it's simply, and I understand that there's other polling that shows people are blaming Israel for defending themselves. Thankfully, Israel has a very thick skin, and they will do whatever they have to do to defend their land and their people. I am not surprised that Democrats, in a poll, came out against supporting Israel. We have an administration that's currently in place that has been one of the most hostile to this particular ally than any other administration in history. And the polling doesn't surprise me. I guess I don't get surprised anymore. I'm massively disappointed that we would treat an ally like this, the only democracy that's in a troubled hotspot in the world, needs our help, needs our support, and you've got folks blaming them for defending themselves. It's despicable is what it is.
Well, that's a good point. Israel did not fire the first shot. Well, Stan, you know a lot about Israel, so tell me, is this something new for them? Is this the first time they've been accused or not been defended by somebody that should defend them?
Well, the answer is no. In fact, if you talk about Jewish people throughout their existence, that has been basically the story of their life. But more specifically with Israel, you have many people, many of them Jews, by the way, who don't like the concept of a Jewish state. They don't like the concept of right and wrong. They don't like the concept of God. And therefore, since Israel, even though it's not run by perfect people, and may or may not be, the Israel foretold, the fact is Israel represents a state run on the concepts embodied in the Old Testament, and that concept is an aberration. All Muslims, God bless some of them and God damn some of them, frankly, depending on whether or not they want to kill people, but all Muslims hate the fact that Jews exist. Of course, they hate the fact that Muslims exist. The very existence of a Jewish state goes against the concepts held by atheists, held by hedonists, held by pedophiles, held by drug addicts, if you will, and some good people mixed in there too. They're just, in my opinion, wrong. But Israel understands and has a man as their leader at this point in Benjamin Netanyahu, who says, what you think is what you think. We have two options, win or die. So we're simply going to win. And whatever anyone else says is maybe interesting, maybe not, but is irrelevant. And that is what God has taught Jews since he, if you will, chose their nation to do more and to be responsible for more and to act in a way that he chose for them to act.
So the Muslims in the Middle East don't want Israel to have a Jewish state, which would be a religious state, but then they want to have a totally religious regime, an Islamic regime, so it's okay for the Muslims to have a religious regime, but not for the Israelis to have a religious regime. That just seems to me to be pretty one-sided. Brent, what are your thoughts on this issue?
Yeah, well, I'm going to be the lone panelist here who takes the brunt of everybody else's perspective, because I do not think that Israel walks on water. I do not think that the state of Israel is the Israel of Scripture. And I was raised as a Jew, and I do not believe that you fight off a mosquito bite with a nuclear weapon, which is a metaphor for what Israel does. Israel goes and decimates anybody who dares to fire rockets. They've been bombarded with rockets, and they've had maybe 3 people been killed. Okay, and some property damage. In turn, they have sat there and taken their high-tech equipment. They have wiped out women and children, civilians, innocents. They don't care. And I think that Israel has been given too much of a pass for too long. It's about survive. It's about either survive or either die or win. It's all about survival. And that's the argument made for every single, what I consider to be atrocity perpetrated by Israel. Now, I'm not out there saying that I think that the Gaza folk, the Palestinians of Hamas are, any more angels or anything like that. Please don't get me wrong. But I do think that Israel is given a pass continuously simply because they're surrounded by hostile forces, and therefore they have a right to do whatever it takes to survive. I disagree. I do not think you have a right to do whatever it takes to survive. If you become the monsters that you revile in order to survive, that's wrong.
Well, I'm going to tell you that I don't think Israel's a monster in this situation. I believe it's the other way around, because only one of the two groups that are fighting right now has stated that they're going to wipe the other one out no matter what. Andy, there's another story here I'd like to bring up where...
Well, let Andy comment on this story
Okay,
first.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Andy. What are your thoughts so far?
Well, I'm disappointed to hear Brett's comments, because you're looking at Israel as the only democracy in the Middle East that's surrounded by people who want to wipe them off the face of the earth. And in this particular case, Hamas is stockpiling weapons, and they have rocket locations, and they do this in a very cowardly way. They place them by schools, they place them by mosques, they place them by hospitals. If Israel is off, launches a rocket and they're off by a little bit, they could wipe civilians, and that's by design. These are the types of cowards that Israel is facing, and it's not as if they have a long-standing war with one enemy. They're in a region where everybody that surrounds them resents them and wants to exterminate them, and the United States should do everything it can to support this ally.
Which is another point.
Steve, if I may, one final comment.
Go ahead.
You have to understand, I don't appreciate the fact that they're a democracy. Our founding fathers, the American founding fathers, said democracy is a system of government that is repugnant to a free society. Metaphorically, democracy is a society in which two wolves and a sheep decide on what to eat for dinner. So it's nothing to write home about that they're this great democracy. A democracy is ultimately a tyranny. And that's why our founding fathers spoke out against democracy. I just don't think that is a justification for supporting Israel.
Right, but that's an invalid comment, Rick, because Israel is the same type of democracy we are. They're a representative democracy. They elect representatives, and by the way, the Arabs there have full representation and a full vote, and the only place an Arab is safe, any place in the Arab world, is in Israel, because every place else, they're more likely than not, if they disagree with someone, they're going to get killed. So your comment is not relative to the reality that's on the ground.
Israel's government is hardly a tyranny, and shame on me for not saying representative republic. Their democracy is a representative republic. People are free to vote there. It could be the theocracies that we have that surrounds them, and it's not the case. They don't have ayatollahs running around there invoking Sharia law, abusing women, killing people. That's not the case. You've got a representative republic that mirrors very much what we're doing here. And as an ally, the United States should be supporting them.
Well, that's a very good point, because, well, and again, every nation on earth that has human beings in it, which all of them do, are going to have something go wrong from time to time, and somebody do something wrong from time to time. But it's been my recollection that Israel has not been running around the world killing people and flying planes into buildings and blowing people up and doing those kinds of things. And right now they're being bombarded by rocket attacks. And so it seems to me that Israel is in its rights to say, you know what, we don't want to be exterminated, and we're going to do what it takes to keep that from going on. But a comment was just made about the United States supporting Israel, and one other thing is we've authorized a lot of equipment and munitions to Israel. And so if it comes to where Israel has to launch some type of an attack, will the United States continue to fund Israel as needed so they can protect themselves from being exterminated? What are your thoughts, Andy?
I hope so. I hope that they provide the support that Israel needs should there be a last resort, and I'm talking about a ground war. I hope it doesn't come to that, but I hope that the United States follows through and supports Israel. I guess I will have to wait and see if this particular administration is honorable enough to follow through on that promise.
Mr. Solomon, what are your thoughts, sir?
Well, I think that Barack Obama is a person that does not believe that Israel needs to survive. I think that's really what it comes down to. Whatever else he may or may not be, I don't think he cares a whit whether or not Israel survives, and I am convinced beyond 50.1% that if Israel is attacked, the United States will not support Israel. Now, I don't know if that holds true for some other countries in the world, but I would tell you this, and here I might agree with Brent, which is very difficult for me to do at times. I believe Israel is more than capable of defending itself. I think that the only reason we haven't had 200 million idiotic Arabs, stick a hand grenade in their own behind, pull out the pin and run into Israel is because they know that Israel has the capability of defending itself. So I don't think the United States I don't think Israel should be dependent on the United States. I think Israel should be dependent on Israel. At the same time, I believe that every American who loves God and who cares about freedom should voluntarily support Israel to the extent that they can. And I can tell you in the last Arab-Israeli war, I was on a plane going to Israel, and the thing was over before I got there. And I believe that there are millions of us who feel exactly that way. And by the way, comparing Israel to any Arab country is like comparing an innocent child to a cockroach. There is no redeeming feature in existence in any Arab country that anyone can point to as far as how they treat their own people and how they would treat any other people. Muslims believe in one vote, one person, one time, and then you're a slave.
All right, Brent, any more comments at this point?
Yeah. My only comment is that I am very much a American founding father fan, and George Washington in his famous farewell speech said there should be no entangling alliances anywhere in the world. I am completely opposed to foreign aid to Israel, foreign aid to Egypt, foreign aid to Saudi Arabia, foreign aid to anybody out there. This money was earned by the Americans. It should stay with America. We should not be out there supporting any other country except in terms of, we might say, hey, we support you in principle, but not with our money, not with our arms, and certainly not with our soldiers.
Well, we certainly can't afford to support all of them since we're $16 trillion in debt. Here's another story. We're running out of time, but let me whip this on everybody. Senator John McCain and Senator Lindsey Graham came out recently and criticized the comments that Susan Rice had made early on in the Bengazi affair, where she came on 5 different television programs and said that the Bengazi incident was started by some type of a homemade video here in the United States, which is proven to be not true, was known not to be true at the time she said all those statements. Well, now in addition to the 2 senators, the House Republicans have come out and said Susan Rice is unfit to head the State Department. So, Andy, start with you. What do you think about this? Do you think that the Republicans can keep Susan Rice from being appointed as the State Department's head?
I think they can if they have the backbone and the spine to back up and to support McCain and Graham. I think the words that the senator used, the word that he used was incompetent, and that was what was on display shortly after the Bengazi attack. You had talking points that were edited. She became the mouthpiece. She went out there and did her job, but she deceived her government. She deceived the United States. I don't see how she could be considered for Secretary of State. I don't see what kind of credibility that she has. She may be a bright person, may have done well in school, but it probably is a nice person personally. But I don't know how her behavior warrants even consideration to be Secretary of State.
Well, Stan, let me follow up with this. I know that some Democrats now are accusing the Republicans of racism and sexism, that are saying that this attack on Susan Rice is merely that. It's nothing to do with the facts, only about sexism and racism. 2 minutes left. What's your thoughts, Stan?
Democrats are idiots.
I agree with you there, Till. You got that summed up in a heartbeat. All right, we're just about out of time. I want to go back to Andy. Andy, if you would, again, tell us a little bit about AMAC again and how to get a hold of your organization.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. People can go online at www.amac, that's AMAC.us, amac.us to join the one of the most important conservative senior groups of late in the United States. Or you could dial 888-262-2006 and to find out more about AMAC and to sign up. We are the leading alternative to the AARP, and I thank you for the opportunity to promote it here.
No, thank you for joining it for being with us and sharing that information with us. It's very valuable. We look forward to your organization succeeding and also the United States succeeding. This is the end of this segment. We'll be back in a few minutes with Stan Solomon and Brent Johnson. We're going to talk some more about Bengazi, some other things going on there. We'll be followed later on by Dr. Alan Keyes, and I am your in-studio host, Chief Steve Davis. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Do you like being healthy? I do. In fact, this product, which I've been taking for years now, is absolutely the answer. Now, you may not believe it, but I'm actually 21, plus tax, of course. This product has 146 different healthful nutrients in it, and it's liquid, so it's bioavailable. It tastes great, and it's sugar-free. 1 ounce of Sonic Life each day will help you to maintain and enhance your health. It's a kind of a gift, well, that you'll thank your mom for, your husband for, your wife for, your kids for. Whoever you give it to, they're going to say thank you, and you are going to enjoy the benefits of having all the vitamins, all the minerals, all the nutrients your body needs in one very reasonably priced product. Just go to cpnlive.com, and everything's right there. You'll be able to read all the ingredients. The price is right there, a flat price delivered to your door anywhere in the United States of America. Sonic Life is a gift, a great gift. Give it to yourself. I do. Hey, my name is Stan Solomon, and you know if I have something to say, I'll say it. And I'll only tell you the truth because I'm a Republican, not a Democrat. Democrats always lie. Republicans only lie half the time. I don't lie at all. This is the Fuel Mule. It's an extraordinary product that was developed by a friend of mine, an engineer, and it increases the fuel mileage on your vehicle. If you have a combustion engine, this will increase your mileage by 10 to 20%. It bolts around your fuel line. You can install it yourself or have your mechanic do it. It is an extraordinary item, and it flat works. I've been using it for more than 10 years. It's increased my mileage on every vehicle I put it on, and by the way, it will last forever. You can get rid of your vehicle, just take it off and put on the next one. Go to cpnlive.com. You'll have more information there. You can order it right there. We absolutely guarantee you'll be satisfied. The Fuel Mule. It's a way to kick down your cost of fuel and kick up your mileage. Don't you love the name? I thought of it. The Fuel Mule. Let me ask you a question. Do you like being sick? I have in my hand an incredible product. It's called TR10 supercolloidal silver. TR10 stands for a trace to the negative 10th power. The particles in this silver product are 6 to 8 angstroms, 6 to 8 10 billionths of a meter. Now listen to me. Silver has been the magic bullet for all of human existence. The Egyptians used silver instruments. We use silverware. They put silver in your teeth because nothing can grow on silver. Silver will kill anything but liberalism. I'm working on that. This product, you go to cpnlive.com, buy 1 quart of this product. It will last you for a very long time. Anytime you feel like you've been exposed to something bad, take some of this product, spray it in your mouth, or take a little bit and gargle it, swallow it. It will kill any pathogen. The average antibiotic kills 10 to 20 different pathogens. This product will kill 700 plus. Do yourself a favor, do your family a favor, do your doctor a favor. He's tired of seeing you. Get supercolloidal silver. Go to cpnlive.com, order the product. It's $29.95 plus shipping. I think it's $39.95 delivered any place in America right to your door. It's worth 10 times that. Check it out. If you're not 100% happy, just return it and we'll give you your money back. I like to eat. You like to eat? We all do. And usually we run to the grocery store, we run to the convenience store, or we have something in the fridge. But power's been out in parts of this country in the last few weeks. We don't know what's going to come down the pike economically. Smart people are putting in food. Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves is a line of foods that you can put away that will last for a very long time. You know, they say eat what you store and store what you eat. This is great tasting stuff, healthy for you, a full line. You go to our website, cpnlive.com, and click on the button for Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves and see all the different things we have. This is good tasting food. It's reasonably priced. It will last. And it's worth its weight in gold if a problem arises. I know you don't think there's going to be anything that goes wrong. Actually, you do. This is smart. This is smart insurance. This is smart preparation. This is smart thinking. You have kids, you have a spouse, you have parents, you have dependents, you have an appetite. All those things can be addressed by a frugal but smart investment in Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves. Try them out. You will be tickled to death with the taste of them. You know what? In many cases, people start to eat this and they think, heck, this tastes better and costs less than what you're going to the grocery store to buy. cpnlive.com. Check it out.